Welcome to Image Bearers Overland, where history, adventure, and the untamed spirit of exploration come alive. Today, we embark on an incredible journey along one of the most iconic trails in the American Southwest, the historic Mojave Road. Spanning over 140 miles of rugged desert terrain, the Mojave Road is more than just a trail. It's a storybook written in the sands of time. Originally forged as a trade route by the Mojave tribes, this path connected the Colorado River to the Pacific coast, carrying goods, culture, and stories across the vast desert. Later, it became a passage for settlers, miners, and military expeditions, each leaving their mark on the land. Today, we will just be traveling the first section of the trail. Our adventure begins at Afton Canyon, often referred to as the Grand Canyon of the Mojave. This hidden gem is one of the rare places in the desert where water still flows, carving dramatic canyon walls and creating a unique riparian habitat teeming with life. As we navigate the rocky trails and cross the shallow streams, we're reminded of the resilience and determination of those who traveled this path centuries ago. Leaving Afton Canyon, we enter the vast and rugged expanse of the Razor Off-Highway Vehicle Recreation Area. This stretch of the trail challenges both skill and spirit, offering endless opportunities for adventure. It's a playground for off-road enthusiasts and a reminder of the freedom that comes with exploring the unknown. Next, we traverse the Soda Salt Flats, a breathtaking expanse of glimmering white that stretches endlessly to the horizon. This surreal landscape, once the bed of an ancient lake, holds secrets of a world long past. Crossing these salt flats is a humbling experience, offering a stark contrast to the rugged beauty of the surrounding desert. Finally, our journey brings us to Kelbacher Road, where the Mojave Road's storied path intersects with modern travelers. It's here, surrounded by the timeless beauty of the Mojave Desert, that we reflect on the incredible journey we've undertaken, a journey that connects us to the rich history and natural wonders of this extraordinary land. At Image Bearers Overland, we believe in capturing the spirit of adventure, embracing the stories of the past, and sharing the beauty of the wild places that inspire us. We're thrilled to have you join us on this journey. So buckle up and let's hit the trail together. Subscribe to our channel and join us on this incredible journey. Sit back and enjoy the drive. This marks my son's maiden voyage with his third-gen 4Runner, a promising adventure, made all the more interesting by it being a 2x4. My oldest son is joining him, bringing his greater experience in off-road driving to the mix. I can only imagine what a blast they're having together. It would be amazing to be a fly on the windowsill, listening in as they laugh and bond throughout the day. This stop serves as a convenient bathroom break and a great location to meet up or regroup before heading down into the Afton Canyon campsite area. If your group has 5 or fewer rigs, you could plan to meet up directly in front of the campsite. However, for larger groups, it's better to regroup here, as a bigger gathering might obstruct the entrance to the campsite. Streams in the desert. For I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. Isaiah 43:19. The Mojave Desert is a place of rugged beauty. Its vastness, solitude, and stark contrasts remind us of life's wilderness seasons, times when we may feel dry, isolated, or tested. The Afton Canyon, with its rare, flowing waters cutting through the arid land, serves as a powerful symbol of God's provision, even in the most challenging landscapes. Afton Canyon is sometimes called the Grand Canyon of the Mojave. It's a place where life perseveres against the odds. Greenery thrives, water flows, and the desert blooms. These images reflect God's promise in Isaiah 43:19. Just as He brings streams to the desert, He provides hope, strength, and renewal in our lives when we feel parched. The ancient Mojave Road, once a trade route for Native Americans and later a passage for pioneers, tells a story of endurance. Travelers relied on their resourcefulness and the guidance of landmarks to navigate the harsh terrain. Similarly, Proverbs 3:5-6 reminds us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." When we follow God's guidance, even the wilderness can become a place of growth. The salt flats of Soda Lake, barren yet mesmerizing, remind us of Psalm 63:1. O God, you are my God. Earnestly I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh faints for you, as in a dry and weary land where there is no water. In those moments of spiritual thirst, God invites us to seek Him. The soda flats may appear lifeless, but they are evidence of ancient waters. Just as God's provision may feel distant, yet His presence is constant. As we conclude the Mojave journey at Mojave Road, the surrounding mountains rise as a testament to the Creator's majesty. Psalm 121:1-2 says, "I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth." Even in the starkest of places, God's hand is evident. His creation, His promises, and His provision are reminders that no wilderness is too vast for His care. Lord, thank you for being our guide in the wilderness and our stream in the desert. When life feels dry and overwhelming, help us to trust your promises and provision. May the beauty of your creation inspire us to seek you and rely on your unfailing love. In Jesus' name, amen. This is the second water crossing, located just beneath the railroad trestle. This is a great spot to pause and assess the conditions ahead before descending the hill into the water. While the water level is low at the moment, I've seen it rise to 24 to 30 inches deep in the past, spanning the entire length of the trestle during crossings. For all the train enthusiasts out there, this spot offers a fantastic vantage point for watching trains. We were blessed to catch one passing by while we were filming. It was such a treat to experience. This was the first and thankfully the last time my son got stuck during this trip. Getting stuck is a rite of passage for all of us, and it's taught us valuable lessons about what to do and what not to do. Now, he's learning those lessons firsthand. Thinking back to my own first time off-roading, I can still remember the thrill and apprehension of navigating the unknown trails. Watching my boys experience that same mix of excitement and challenge, I can't help but envy them a little. I pulled forward, hooked up to him, and with a bit of teamwork, he was quickly unstuck and ready to continue on his way. This spot has been a cherished stop for us since our kids were little. One of our traditions was taking a ground-to-sky picture of them with the cutout at the top. It's always made for a wonderful memory. Today we're missing our two girls, so instead, we captured some scenic shots to hold on to the moment. Since our Jeep friends were likely heading to Spooky Canyon next, we decided to avoid the crowd by timing our entry. We noticed they had a few younger kids, which might mean they'd take a bit longer to navigate through the cavern. As shown in the video, there are several slot caverns straight ahead. We plan to start by exploring one of the less popular areas first. This canyon is home to numerous slot caverns, each offering its own unique charm and sense of adventure. They're scattered throughout, creating a playground for exploration and discovery, perfect for those who enjoy unraveling nature's hidden wonders. I wanted to highlight how soft the walls of this cavern are, so it's important to move cautiously as you make your way through. Also, be mindful of the weather. These caverns were shaped by powerful flows of water, and they can become extremely dangerous during a flash flood. Stay safe and enjoy the exploration. We're now heading to the Spooky Canyon Trailhead, a popular destination that's easy to find on Google Maps. Its name alone is intriguing, and its popularity speaks to the adventure that awaits. Before entering, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. It gets tight and dark, so headlamps are your best bet, since you'll need your hands free for climbing. Flashlights might just get in the way. Gloves can also be useful, as the rocks can be sharp when navigating up and down the ropes. Hope you enjoy the hike. We will be exiting Afton Canyon with our next stop being Dolores Holland Grave. After that, we'll head to the trees at the end of Razor Road. These trees hold a special place in my heart as they were part of the campsite I grew up going to. My grandparents would arrive a week before our holiday trips each year to ensure we could secure the area under the trees. The families who managed to claim the trees on a first-come, first-served basis were the envy of the campground. By the way, Terry, the owner of the Razor Road gas station, also owns the land under the trees. He values them dearly, so be cautious not to cut or damage them. On our way to the trees, I'll show you the best spot to gather firewood if you're planning to stay in the area. The trail through Afton is in great shape, and I typically don't find the need to air down. However, once you leave Afton, the trail shifts to the classic desert washboard terrain. At that point, airing down becomes essential for a smoother ride. I don't have much information about the grave, apart from details shared on a few websites. They mention that Dolores was the daughter of Sheldon Joseph Joe and Bertha Holland. Joe served as a Union Pacific Section foreman at King, Kelso, and Yermo, and also held the position of town constable in Yermo. The gravestone indicates that Dolores passed away on July 4, 1931, at just 4 months old. As you can see, solar lights illuminate the site, and visitors often leave tokens of respect. We've always made it a point to stop and pay our respects when passing through. From here to the firewood gathering location, the trail offers a mix of hard-packed dirt and soft, sandy stretches. It's a long and varied terrain, perfect for testing both driver skills and vehicle performance along the way. Anyone familiar with the area might wonder why I'm taking this particular route. The answer lies in practicality. My Tundra isn't exactly lightweight, with a Lone Peak camper on the back and a fully built-out bed. On top of that, my son's 4Runner lacks 4x4 capabilities. For these reasons, I've opted to avoid the sand dunes and take the longer, more manageable path around. This is my go-to firewood location. The wood is already cut down, mostly in sizes that are easy to carry back to camp using rigs, sand rails, UTVs, or ATVs. However, I'd still recommend bringing a chainsaw, just in case. To find the spot, look for the fence just behind the large tree trunk in front of me. Starting from Razor Road, follow the trail south of the group of large trees along the fence until you reach the train tracks. From there, head east and follow the tracks until you come to the trees alongside the railroad. At the base of these trees, you'll typically find a good supply of firewood. Next, we'll be heading north toward the Razor Road trees. This trail is a blast if you're driving sand toys, but it's not as enjoyable in a truck. The road is full of sharp whippy-doos that make for a bumpy and exciting ride. We've just spotted the Razor Road trees for the first time on this trip. As we passed them, we noticed about 30 to 40 people camped under the shade, tents, RVs, and everything in between. It brought back memories of my childhood when my family would fill the area under the trees, much like this group has done. From here, we're heading toward the Salt Flats and the crossing. The area we're approaching is restricted to street-legal vehicles only. Years ago, California's government reclassified the land from BLM to forestry, which unfortunately made green or red sticker off-road vehicles prohibited here. I remember when my family could explore trails spanning 50 miles in each direction, but now we're limited to the Razor Road off-road area. This includes the Salt Flats, the stretch to the railroad we just left, and into Afton Canyon. The fence we followed earlier, running from the tracks to the trees, marks the forestry boundary. Here's an interesting fact. The forestry department often tries to put up signs just east of the trees or near the trail I'm currently on. However, Terry's property extends from the trees toward the forestry boundary, covering roughly the size of a football field. He and others remove these signs because they're inaccurate and trespass onto his land. These signs clearly indicate that the area is restricted to green or red sticker vehicles. It serves as a visual reminder of the regulations in place, stemming from the land's reclassification over the years. The salt flats can get extremely dusty, so I recommend stopping and pulling to the side when other vehicles are heading your way, especially if either group is large. After the first couple of vehicles pass, the visibility drops significantly, making it nearly impossible to see the rest of the group. In my opinion, having one group come to a complete stop makes the situation much safer. You'll see this play out just up ahead, where a Ford Raptor passes us, and the rest of its group becomes almost completely hidden from view. This spot holds special memories for us. It used to be one of our favorite stops during each trip to the area with our ATVs, though we can't enjoy it the same way anymore. Back then, we had a tradition of leaving a rock marked with our family name and the year.
It's the plaque.
It's a custom shared by many who travel the Mojave Road, where travelers stop to drop off a rock and leave their own mark.
Because over that way is the mines.
Yeah. So which way do we head? Where do we head?
Head what?
Like what direction?
Oh, the trail goes through.
We just go through all the way to
Yeah.
Oh, close that door.
Yes. They're on the other side. I think he wanted you over there.
The stunning drone footage and photos featured here are courtesy of my older son, who is part owner of a photo and videography company called Real Time Captures. If you'd like to check out more of their work, you can visit them at realtimecaptures.com.
These all have cabs. They're like yours.
That's a Toyota.
Unfortunately, I missed the turn to the mines, so we headed straight to Kelbaker Road and began our journey home. The trail on this side of the salt flats is severely washboarded, and the powdery section leading up to it only added to the discomfort. Overall, the last leg of the trip wasn't as enjoyable as we'd hoped. Thank you for joining us on our Afton Canyon adventure. We hope you enjoyed the journey and caught a glimpse of the incredible beauty this part of California has to offer. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and come along as we continue exploring and experiencing the wonder of our Lord's creation up close. Thank you for watching. We truly appreciate your support.